Hey, what's up? JR Noble here, and I was kicking around some ideas, and I figured I would record something to show you a couple ways that you can add some different elements to your song to make it a little bit more interesting, and also a plugin that I use to create this kind of shifter effect that I thought was really cool. So I'll jump right in, and I'll show you some of this stuff right now. So what I have is just a real simple kind of sounding beat, and I just wanted to kind of spice it up and make it sound a little bit more interesting. So I'll play for you that sound really quick, and just so you can get a sense of what it sounds like. So you can hear it's not too much going on there, but it's enough to start with. And I basically just programmed some drums, and they sound really dry. But one thing that I did was I put a reverb on here, and I had found this really cool reverb sound that I wanted to use in there, but I didn't like the timing of it. So I'll play this for you with the reverb in there. So I'm using this one right here, this RC24. So when I play these drums with just that reverb, it sounds like this. So I thought it was a really cool sound, but the timing didn't really work too well. And I could just go in here and play with the timing of the pre-delay and take that down, but I thought it'd be more fun to resample it. And so now we have what sounds like this. And when I add that into the mix with everything else, it adds kind of like a cool texture in the back. So I'll blend it in just so you can hear what it sounds like. So you can hear once I took this and I basically put it on beat with everything, that it adds an extra little texture to the background, so it gives it a little bit more depth and dimension. So that was one thing that I used. And also I found this other really cool plugin. I was going through my plugins and I came across this M-Comb, which I'll show you over here. And so this M-Comb is a comb filter plugin and makes some really cool sounds. So I'll show you what I did with that really quick. If you see here on this clip right here, what I have is I recorded just all of the drums and I think some of the bass in there with going through that M-Comb, and was just playing around with moving this around a bit. And then what I got was this right here. And so I thought that was a really cool sound. And so I'll just show you exactly what that looks like really quick. So if I go back over here, I'll turn off this simple delay because I was using the simple delay for something else, and I'll get to that in a second. And basically, if I turn this back up here on E, and we just solo out the drums. Now, this is a free plugin from a company by the name of Melda Productions, M-E-L-D-A. And if you'd like to grab it, then I'll include a link in this below this video, so that way you can go and pick that up. So you can really do some awesome stuff with that. You can do some real damage in a good way to your sounds. And then so basically all I did was, excuse me, all I did was hit record on this sample track. I hit it in resample mode. So I just have it set to resample, and then I just resampled that sound, and now I have this and I can add that into the mix as well. And it kind of gives it a cool little vibe. But I thought, what if I took that a step farther? Because it has this real pitched, delayed kind of effect. And what if I turned it into a shifter sound? So what I did was I took that same idea and I started creating these shifters. So I have a few shifters that I created based off of using that comb filter. Cool, so we had that sound, and then once I added this EQ, I just filtered out a little low end, added some heavy saturation, and put a glue compressor on it and really compressed the crap out of it to bring it up quite a bit. And then it sounds a little bit more like this. So you can hear it now. We have this really cool kind of shifter sound that we can add into this track if we wanted to. And you can work on the timing, you can time stretch it and get it out. So basically what I did was I just re-recorded that sound over here. And now I have that sound as audio, and I can start to warp and stretch and do some fun stuff with that as well. Now, the other thing I did was where that simple delay came in at was here with this piano chord. So I thought, what if I did this instead of to the drums, so I didn't have all that like percussive rhythmic elements, and I just did a piano? What kind of sound could I get with that? So then what I did was I had this first piano chord. Out of all the chords that I was playing for that chord progression, I just took the first chord and then ran that through kind of the same processing. So basically set it up to where I was using the simple delay and the M comb, getting that shifter kind of sound, and then adding in the extra processing of using the saturation and the compressor. So the piano chord by itself sounds like this. And then when I take that through, let's see, open up these sends. So when I take that through that same processing in the M delay, if I go here, so then basically I just ran it through this simple delay. I turned up a lot of feedback, and I started with the M comb and basically just played around with making this sound like a shifter. So you can hear how you get this kind of shifting down kind of sound using that M comb. And basically what I came up with is after I re-recorded it, so I re-recorded that sample here. So you'll see that I have that sample right here. This is basically the same thing I recorded, and then I just put it through all of this same processing, EQ, saturation, heavy compression, and then it turned out to be this sound right here. And then I thought that was a bit long, so I made a shorter version of it, which is this one right here. So then if you want to, you can add in those shifter effects and shifter sounds, and you can take this relatively short kind of loop and start to turn it into something a little bit more interesting by adding in these extra elements to it. So now what I'll do is I'll quickly record down these drums that I have. All right, so I have the kick, snare, all that stuff kind of recorded down, and I'll just get this into the arrangement view really quickly. All right, so now we have that in the arrangement view. Get rid of some of this other stuff we don't need. And I can jump back into this view here, and we'll just grab out a couple of those samples that we had. So we'll get this guy on there, and then we'll grab out shifter sound. We'll grab the short shifter sound. So then you can play around with some of these ideas, and I'll close this out, move some of these guys a little bit around a little bit. So we'll adjust some of these tracks so these guys are closer together. Cool, we got those. Mute this guy out. All right, so now we have the beginnings of a song. So we're just gonna arrange this out a bit. If I take this out for the beginning and just play it from there and then add it in after a second, you'll hear how it sounds with it and without it. And then so this last part, we can take this kind of clap and snare sound. We can copy that and start to add that in as like the 2 and the 4. So we can kind of build it back up again. after this breakdown. And then if we didn't want that, if we wanted just the clap by itself, I could re-record that with just the clap. So that way we didn't have the snare in there, but we'll keep it in there for now. So we'll take this, duplicate it out. Now we can start to create more of like a buildup. Cool, so then we can get back into this. Oops, undo that. I want to copy these guys over and pull this guy over and maybe bring this guy back in too. Maybe we'll take that out for a second. So we don't want that. So what we're going to do is go back over here, and I did actually resample just the drums without all that other craziness. Cool, so we'll record this down real quick. Cool, so now we have that with the processing on it, and we can bring this back over, and we can get this with just the bass and the drums. So then when it drops back in, we'll have we won't have all this extra background kind of arpeggiated melody that we don't want. So then it sounds a little bit like this. Cool, so I was just adjusting some of the levels, just so that way it didn't sound too crazy. And then we can even take this, we could shorten it up, or we could take this, duplicate it, and then maybe even reverse it and use part of it as a shifter coming back up in the opposite direction. So we can go here, hit reverse, and then take out a bunch of this stuff and use just this beginning part. Cool, and then let's do this. Move the start of this a little bit further back. Cool, and we're gonna add in that transpose right there. All right, so we're gonna consolidate this, make it its own new thing. All right, so now that we have it consolidated to a new region, what we're gonna do is go into clip and transposition modulation, and then we're going to add in this little envelope. We're going to take it up maybe like 3 octaves or so. We're going to get crazy with it. And then so that we're going to add a little EQ curve in here. Hold down Option, and curve it up. So that way you can see that it's transposing that sample up. So if we play that now. So that's kind of cool if you want this glitchy effect, but we're going to take it off beats and we're going to try a complex and see how that sounds. That's kind of cool. You can try Complex Pro so you can play around with some of the different settings. That's kind of cool. We'll leave it like that for now. All right, so now we have this breakdown and this buildup that leads back into it, and you can adjust the volumes and all that kind of stuff. But this is basically what we have today, so you can start to make your tracks more interesting. And all we did was we recorded down a reverb to add it in underneath of everything. It was this kind of delayed reverb, so we had to shift the timing of it to get it on point. And then we have the shifter sound that we created. We put that in there to just kind of spice things up a bit, and then we actually turned it into from like a downshifter into an upshifter just to give it some extra movement inside of the track. And so it sounds like this. And you can mix those levels to taste. You don't have to have so much of this reverb in there, but adds a nice little textural element to things. And once you add in more layers of some extra instruments, it'll actually it'll make it feel like it has a little bit more depth without kind of being so crazy as it is right now, because there's not much going on. But anyways, that is just what I wanted to share with you today. I had some things I was playing around with, some ideas I was kicking around, so figured I'd share them with you and see if you got any kind of value out of that. If it helped you out with anything, then let me know. Drop a comment below. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so that way you can stay tuned for more videos like this that are coming your way. And again, my name is J.R. Noble, and I want to thank you for taking out the time to check out this video.